just about to blast into action. We've got the all-wheel drive Subaru WRX, the V8 powered HSV on the front row of the grid. Lights out, away we go. Good start for Dimitri Agathos, very good start as well for Ian Salteri in the VW Golf, and he's going to come flying down on the inside of Dimitri Agathos as they head into turn one. So it's the VW Golf that hits the front. And look at Tim Lay, the BMW M3, the car that won the Bathurst 6 Hour last year on an early charge already, as is the sister car to that, the other BMW M3 with Shane Smollen at the wheel.
Yeah, the number 56 looked good right up the inside there. There's Dwayne West in the mix as well. Watch for Matthew Holt to try and gather it all up in the Cabernet Holmes car. The horsepower race will begin, the dry weather here. Watch for number 1. Here comes the M4 as well. They've got it sorted up. There it is right now, looking up the inside of that Golf R there as well, the GTI Golf there in the mix as well. Did a very good job in the wet earlier on today in the sprint race, that Golf. But here he comes, the M4 up the inside of the M3 there, the number 77, and he storms on through.
So Sheridan will pick up another position. It will take a bit of time here, Darren, for the cars to slot into their more natural running order, because we had the wet weather yesterday. There were some cars that were fighting a lot further up the field than where you would normally have expected them to be in the dry. So it will take a bit of time just to reshuffle the order. We can see the Sheridans on the charge. Problems for that car yesterday with it going into limp mode. There's battles a bit further back in the pack. David Kruger in the BMW E36 328 high, going for a very wide line through turn number 8 with the hairpin, and going around the outside of James Keane. We've got some HSVs charging through from a bit further back in the pack as well. Joe Crittlelos was in there making some moves, but here they come down the main straight to complete the first lap. It's the VW Golf, Ian Salteri at the wheel, that leads the way, but here comes Barry Clinton, the BMW M3. He's winding it up. Look at the straight line performance. He just blasts his way past the VW Golf to take the race lead by the time they get to turn one.
Just watching Reece McIntosh, who has been massive this week in the German Performance Garage. APR entered VW Golf there as well, doing a great job. Draws alongside in the Liquiboli sponsored car. Have a look at this, off into the dirt there. The AMG car number 45. And that is Alex Bryden, Michael Sheargold, who's the wheel at the moment.
Alex Bryden's taken the start in that car.
Yep.
Sheargold will take over.
That was a wild ride.
Here's another good battle. David Kruger running side by side with the BMW 1 Series. Alex and Dieter Holtzel sharing the number 80 car, and it's David Kruger who actually moves ahead with a very confident move around the outside through turn number 2. So David Kruger driving the wheels off that Pinnacle Automotive BMW and running very, very strongly indeed. Just behind that, as I mentioned, Joe Crittlelos in the HSV. Watch for that car to make up some spots as this race progresses as well. We know that it's got heaps of grunt. Let's check out a replay of this very wild moment for the Mercedes A45 AMG through turn number 1. I'll tell you what, Darren, Alex Bryden did exceptionally well to save that and keep it on the black stuff.
And there was also a bit of a coming together between car 80 and car number 89. The two BMWs, a little clip in the rear there as well, just happened in the back of that shot. We nearly missed that, whilst all the excitement was happening up on the off the hard top in the grass there with the AMG. Two BMWs clipped each other as well. So a little bit of biff and barge, a little bit of urgency starting to come to the fore in the MRF Tyres Australian Production Car Championship, New South Wales Championship there, as we see the Sharon car, Grant Sharon at the wheel, going almost 4 wheels onto the dirt. There's an extended hard top out over the back of there. Grant used all of that and then some.
You don't want to be dropping wheels off the racetrack because of all the rain that we had here yesterday and today. It is extremely damp if you get onto the grass, and a few drivers discovering that right now as we say that Dimitri Agathos Subaru WRX is in the pits already. This would have to be an unscheduled stop because the pit window does not open until we've completed 15 minutes, and a slow Joe Crittlelos as well. I just mentioned that he would be charging his way up through the field, but seemingly a few issues there for the Track Day Club HSV GTS.
Number 7 now, this is the Brock Mitchell John car. So at the moment that's just going backwards a couple of spots. It's Brock Mitchell at the wheel. In fact, it's gone back a handful of spots, lost 7 spots, 8 spots now, as they're just getting it back up to speed. Here comes Reece McIntosh doing a ripping job in Luke Molly sponsored outfit, the German Performance Garage APR entry. a New South Wales State Series competitor, but he's been driving very well, was immense in the early race today. And great to have him on board. Love to encourage him to join on with the MRF Tyres National Series. It'd be great to see another VW taking it up to what has been an awesome assault already this year in the Harding Performance VW Golf, which currently sitting second on the road. See that Liquimolli entered German Performance Garage car being driven by Reece McIntosh go streaming on by the number 7 Commodore.
So a classic battle there between cars with different strengths and weaknesses. There must be a bit of a timing clinch with Brock Mitchell because he is in fact running inside the top 10 in 8th position at the moment. But Reece McIntosh, who's having his very first race meeting this weekend, doing a sensational job behind the wheel of that VW Golf GTI. Just behind that battle, there's another one involving Tom Muller, Stephen Thompson in the Mitsubishi Evo 10, and the recovering Alex Bryden in the number 45 Mercedes AMG.
Yeah, Alex Bryden has shown some great composure. Here comes Dimitri Agathos back out into the field, and he has dropped himself outside the 25 by going to the lane there. And cruel twist of fate, in fact, outside the 25, he's indeed 26th on the road. So that's a real cruel twist of fate. He's had a great weekend. He put his Pulsar commitments to one side to commit to the MRF Tyres National Production Car Series. Down the inside goes the Thompson car as well. Good battle here.
Stephen Thompson making a move there on Tom Muller, who comes under pressure from Alex Bryden.
Tom or Urs?
Might be his dad, Urs Muller, who's actually at the wheel of that car at the moment.
So having a good battle here.
Tom Muller and his dad, Urs Muller. Good to see them supporting the category. So Tom Muller did the Toyota 86 Series last year. His dad, Urs Muller's had a lot of experience racing Alfa Romeos, but slotting into BMW machinery this weekend.
Here comes the Kinalos car, and that was been a long, slow lap around Dakino in the DRD Projects. Number 91 has got that E36 3 Series M3 all over the back of them, and just in the back of the shot is the 212 there as well of Zach Scalpo. That's a Toyota 86 as well. Have a look at this M3. It's wearing some battle scars.
David Cruiser spoke about him yesterday, the fact that back in the mid-1990s he was an extremely successful go-kart racer, won the national title back in about 1995 up against the likes of Marcus Ambrose and James Courtney. So
this is for position in the race, Lockie. Car 1 looking up the inside of the number 9. Number 9 not giving up there. Dwayne West and Grant Sharon will go side by side, both A1 cars. So this is not only for position in the race, this is for class points, championship points, very valuable on offer. These two need to get on with the race because really their race is against Boric Linton, who's out in front of this race at the moment. They both want to try and arrest his points haul this weekend, as Grant Sharon is all over the back of that HSV at the moment.
It looks like he had the move done at turn 2, didn't it? But Dwayne West hung tough around the outside and was able to hold on to that position. We know that the number 09 HSV GTS is going to have heaps of straight line performance. It's a stonking amount of horsepower that the supercharged V8 motors in those cars produce. He's doing a good job at the moment of keeping Sharon at bay as we've got the full gas racing Subaru WRX back in the garage. What a great shame after the outstanding performances that we saw from young Dimitri Agathos in the wet weather races earlier on. Really, really disappointing for this team to now be experiencing some mechanical problems with the full gas racing WRX.
I reckon they're looking at, say, a wheel bearing or something. The way the crew are grabbing the top and the bottom of the wheel and shaking it like that, a classic way of checking the condition of the wheel bearing. Didn't look to be any movement there, so they're looking further under the drive of the car being a four-wheel drive. There's a lot of componentry under the back of the car there that would certainly have something go wrong. It's number 89 car, David Cruiser, being driven with lots of aggression here this weekend. And there's the shot of the number 7, Brock Mitchell, who's got Reece McIntosh in the Liquimolli German Performance Garage APR Volkswagen GTI, the Golf GTI out in front of this little pack. So they're talking 7, 8 and 9 on the road here with Bryden just in the background there, the recovering AMG after a heart in the mouth type of off at turn 1. Fastest lap now to Berwick Linton. It's a 1:47.65.
He is well and truly the quickest driver on the racetrack at the moment. The next quickest lap time achieved by any car in the field is a 49.5, set by second placed Ian Salteri. Actually, Brad Sherrod's got down to a 49.4, but nevertheless, Berwick Linton is the best part of 2 seconds quicker than every other car. And oh no, is this the Sherrod car in a limp mode again? It certainly looks like it, doesn't it? They've been struggling all weekend with those issues.
Gee, they have to get on top of this. They really have to get on top of this. They've got a fast car. Both Ian and Grant have said to me, boy, when it's going, it is going like a jet. And we've seen it. The lap times have been coming to them. They've gone and fought well against all oncomers. But when you go into limp home and you lose track position, as we hear the hooter go for the compulsory pit stops can now begin. It's 15 minutes into the 60-minute race. So pit window is now open.
So I caught up with Ian Sherrod yesterday afternoon, and he said that they had finally got access to some fault codes that they needed to be able to properly diagnose what was causing that car to go into limp mode. So they were very optimistic that they would be able to fix those problems overnight, but clearly they still haven't quite been able to get on top of it. And no doubt that in the lead up to the Bathurst 6 Hour, which comes up next month, they'll have a bit more work to do to make sure that those problems don't occur. Here's a move going on down into turn 1 as Alex Bryden slips through on the inside of Stephen Thompson. That is for 8th position outright.
So, just getting word through from pit lane, Berwick Linton is standing in the garage. It's Tim Lay actually in the number 23 at the moment, even though the timing screen clearly says B. Linton in P1. It is actually his co-driver, Tim Lay, an experienced, very, very fast driver, a very, very reliable set of hands and feet to put into a race car. Is Tim Lay and has been over his entire career. Continues to be a very valued member of Berwick Linton's race team. That's why he bolts him in as the co-driver at every opportunity he possibly can. Grant Sharon in and Dwayne West in as well. And we haven't seen Dimitri Agathos head back out on track in the Subaru WRX. He's had a ripping weekend, and it's a real shame that it comes to, I guess, a premature end. You really can't fight back from being now 2 laps down on the race lead. Get back out there, try and get the car fixed up and drag whatever points are left remaining to his direction. 6 laps done now. It is Tim Lay leading the race over Ian Salteri by 9 seconds. Back to Shane Smollen, 14.4. Then it is Matty Holt in the Commodore. And he'll be charging by now, 15 seconds back. Then it's Reece McIntosh in the GDI Golf. Back to Alex Bryden in the number 45 AMG 45.
Here's a good battle on screen between some of the New South Wales competitors as our race leader boxes the number 23 car. We've got Brett Howard fighting against Paul Pearson in the Commodore, and just behind Brett Howard, Aidan Thornborough in the Toyota 86, which was a retirement from the sprint race yesterday afternoon when he lost the radiator cap. But in comes Tim Lay in our race-leading BMW M3 for the number 23 car's compulsory pit stop. They'll be required to change 2 tyres, as will all of the cars in Class A1.
So car goes up very quickly using the ever-reliable pneumatic style of rattle gun. The most grunt you can get. Wind it up to 10 bar, whip those wheel nuts off as quick as you possibly can. He's pulled up nice and close to the pit wall too, so the crew are bunched up right up against the safety working line there. There it is, the ever-reliable pneumatic rattle gun getting the job done. Get that job done there as well. So they've come in 18 minutes gone in the race. Here comes the number 19 Sharon car. Out goes Ian Salteri, beats out the number 23 as well. That's a significant change in the pit lane there. So the number 23 has to chase down the number 40 now. Harding Performance car, that one there.
Yeah, well picked up, Darren. So that's a net change of position, like you're saying.
Big.
A lot of that will be to do with the fact that the Salteri car, they would have only had to change 1 tyre, whereas the Linton and Lay car, being a Class A1 car, would have had to change 2 tyres. So just to give you a bit of an idea, the pit stop for the Linton and Allay car, the time spent in pit lane was 1 minute and 11 seconds. Ian Salteri only spent 59 seconds in pit lane, so about a 12-second difference in their pit stop, transit and stationary times.
Tim Lay stayed in the car too there as well. He's got out of the pits and he is aggressive. Wants to chase down the fellow German car there as well, Ian Salteri. Boy, these guys have done a great job this weekend. Haven't been able to get down to the garage and have a good sniff around to see what has changed around that VW, but certainly Ian Salteri and Jem Usel have come of age as far as race car drivers is concerned. They're really driving well. They're not putting a foot wrong as the Thompson Evo 10, the silhouette that was so successful in this form of racing. They filled the front 3 rows of the grid here at Sydney Motorsport Park about 7 years ago. And there was certainly a controversial finish to the race with Stewie Costera and Dylan Thomas 1 year here when the car came to the lane at the end of the race. I don't think that's actually been resolved. I think they've come to some sort of agreement, but certainly that was a very, very tense afternoon at the racetrack, that one. The number 116 now, Eden Thorburg comes through. Good to see that. Now this is a good battle as well. Pearson
and Brent Howard.
Tactical gear car.
Brent Howard continuing to chase him down and put the pressure on. Brent Howard once again will be handing that number 6 car over to Garth Walden for the run home. All the crew down at GW are pretty pumped at the moment because their entries in the Radical Australia Cup had some great results in the race earlier today, but now that Garth has finished most of the heavy lifting in terms of running cars, he now gets to jump behind the wheel and have a little bit of fun himself to finish off the afternoon. As we say, the second of the Berwick Linton Motorsport BMW M3s entering pit lane in the hands of Shane Smollen.
Really well turned out car. The story behind this is that Scott Turner is getting a car built by Berwick Linton and his crew, an M4, which is to be ready for Bathurst. Wasn't ready for this weekend, so that car is actually Berwick Linton's state running car, being that it's both series running here in conjunction with each other this weekend. He's able to hand that over to those guys to run and to score points in the MRF Tyres National Championship. Really, the only difference is that this has a small fuel tank in it. So if it had have gone sort of 1 minute after the 60 minutes, they would have been in a world of hurt. So this car doesn't carry anywhere near as much as fuel as what the National Series car does. But certainly the good aspect is that they're all running on the MRFs now, so there's no need to adapt another brand of tyre, as it looks like the E36 comes sliding in behind.
David Cruiser, coming in to take his pit stop as well. I really like the way that the Linton Motorsport team go about their pit stops though. They're very efficient with getting the car processed in and out of the lane as quickly as possible. Here is Matt Holt, who continues to be the best of the New South Wales production touring car competitors. He's a former champion within the New South Wales production touring cars. Just noticing as well, Darren, every time we see a shot of the cars negotiating their way through the right-hand kink at turn number 9, a big plume of spray gets thrown up. It looks like there's a bit of standing water still on the road up there, so the drivers will have to be a bit mindful that it will be a bit slippery at that particular section of the track as Matt Holt comes in for his compulsory pit stop.
We cast our eyes back to last year's results. Race 2, this particular car with Matt Holt at the wheel, won race 2 here at Sydney Motorsport Park, being shared with Chris Lillis, who ultimately went on to challenge for the championship right to the very last race of the year. We haven't seen Chris here today, and I do hope that the guys from the West do join in once we get to Mount Panorama and continue on with the rest of the MRF Tyres Australian Production Car Championship, because these things are absolutely immense. They took this thing down to Sandown, and both the Lillis and this car, which are sister cars built by the Holt Engineering Group and his team, had issues with ball joints. They had that much grip. The resurface across the top of the hill at turn 6 at Sandown, they ended up doing ball joints. So they rectified that. They have got stable, and the rules strengthened that area of the car up a little bit as Matt Holt accelerates out of the pit lane for Kavanagh Electrics and Bill Stein suspension. And it is absolutely integral to these two cars, both this one and the Lillis car, their success with that Bill Stein organisation. They've worked very, very hard with Bill Stein to make these big Commodores successful in production car racing. It's all about trying to control how much the car moves around on its tyres, and Bill Stein have certainly lent their engineering support to make sure these two big HSVs get to the line in good condition.
Very true, and when you look at Matt Holt's results, he's had a lot of experience over quite a long period of time, building very fast and very successful HSV race cars in production car racing. But the thing that impresses me most of all is that even at Wakefield Park, the circuit where we also have rounds of the New South Wales Production Touring Car Championship, because that is a quite tight and technical circuit, traditionally it's been a track that suits smaller, lighter and more nimble cars, and yet Matt Holt has still been able to engineer race-winning HSVs at that track. So he certainly knows a thing or two about getting them not just going a straight line, but how to go round corners as well.
He's a bit of a HSV whisperer, isn't he? Matt Holt, very, very accomplished at building successful race cars, as is the guy that owns this car out in front. He does a tremendous job at preparing the car, and he pops his mate Tim Lay in. Tim's a slight fella, but certainly been around motorsport for a long time. A lot of successes. Here's a battle starting to rage. Car number 80 there has been in the thick of things here for quite some time. Alex Bryden ranging in the background there, as is Brock Mitchell in the number 7. And it's the Holzen car that is in the mix there, and just trying to pick up whereabouts in the race those guys are. So just certainly not in the top 10 at this point in time. Car number 80.
Well, actually, they're leading.
There they are, right at the very top.
That's because they're
looking everywhere else except for the race. Yep, been doing this job for a long time. Can't pick a race leader, so that's where they are. There's Alex Bryden and Urs Muller, so they're all right at the very front now. Haven't done the pit stop, so that's why they're out in front. The graphic shows half a second lead to Holzman and Bryden. Urs Muller, DeQuino, Sullivan and Matt Holt, who has done his pit stop. So Matt doing very nicely indeed, leading the way with the pit stop contenders.
So Matt Holt's made it out ahead of Tim Lay as well after that pit stop shuffle. So a very good pit stop for Matt Holt.
So that was the Harding Automotive VW and now Matt Holt that got out quicker. So Matt Holt's car it's an A2 car. I think they've still got to take 2 wheels off actually. So they've done a good job. They've processed the big HSV through. There's our current race leader, car number 80.
With Alex Holtzell at the wheel. Alex Bryden sitting in second position at the moment. 1.5 seconds the margin from first to second. Alex sharing the BMW with his brother Dieter Holtzell. And in the Mercedes, Bryden will hand that car over to Michael Sheargold for the second stint.
Saw Pearson in the background there in the Warlord yellow and black Commodore drifting very wide through turn 1. There's Matt Holt now, just streaming past the number 6. Looks to be going slow. Certainly is going slow. Beric Linton streams on through now. We've got a whole lap to get around if they're going slow. Is this a reset for the car number 6? Is that what's needed?
Garth Walden now at the wheel of that car, having taken over from Brett Howard. Is it just my imagination, or does it seem to be something slightly out of alignment with that car? We'll keep an eye on it, but he's being passed left, right and centre by cars that you wouldn't normally expect just to be driving past it so easily.
Having said that car that just went past is the Yusuf Salteri car. That has been going surprisingly well here this weekend. They've done a tremendous job in prep and they've raced it very well here this weekend. There's the Muller car. There's Muller at the wheel, still to stop. And the number 9 car of DeQuino going through. That's for spot. That is for track position. That is now a swap at third and fourth in the race as they come around the back of Corporal Hill. A lock up there for the older Holden Commodore. And down the inside, Urs Muller looks again. DeQuino goes on the horsepower race. They give each other plenty of room. It's a long run up to the top end of the Sydney Motorsport Park layout. It will be the LS3 powered VE Commodore. arrives at the top of the hill. Let's see if the 77 BMW, that's stopped now. And back underway. So there we have it. A reboot, a live reboot. Car number 6 stopping in a safe place. Reboot, and we've got 3 now streaming into the lane. Exactly half race distance. And it'll be led in by the Falcon.
And while that's happening, here is the battle for the effective race lead. The cars that have already made their compulsory pit stops. And it's Tim Alley who sweeps through to relieve Matt Holt of the race lead. So the BMW M3 goes back to the front.
So we have in the lane now, it is Fern's Volkswagen, Holt's, Aquino and Muller. We're all out of positions 1, 2 and 3 on the road, and the O'Mealy number 36 has gone in as well.
I'll tell you what, the power to weight ratio and the straight line performance of that BMW M3, Tim Alley and Barry Clinton, we know how good it was at the Bathurst 6 Hour last year, but he made that move on Matt Holt with the greatest of ease heading down into turn 1. It has an abundance of performance, that car.
It certainly is. They've got it tuned up this weekend very, very nicely indeed. They missed a number of rounds last year, could have been real title protagonists coming towards the end of the year. They ticked the box, and I think they used a lot of energy and a lot of budget to get that Bathurst win, and obviously a lot of satisfaction, and you don't have to do as much racing. If you get a race win at Mount Panorama, you've worked hard for it. There's no two ways about it. A win up there does not come easy. Scott O'Mealy, Falcon, the blue 2006 Ford Falcon in the lane as well. Here's the battle. A couple of New South Wales production touring competitors. In fact, all 3 of them on screen there, regulars. And Reece McIntosh doing a ripping job for Liquid Molly and the German Performance Garage APR in that 2016 Golf GTI. There goes the 45. Sands the rear diffuser. That was flicked off as it went off turn 1 and is left trackside. We're now seeing the Evo 10 battle it out with the Reece McIntosh Volkswagen Golf.
It's a good side-by-side battle between these 2 cars. All-wheel drive Mitsubishi Evo versus the turbocharged front-wheel drive VW Golf GTI. They've been side-by-side for a few corners now.
Whooshka, all-wheel grip.
Yep, in the end it's the extra traction of the all-wheel drive that gives Stephen Thompson the advantage to go through the turn 6.
It's my inner 7-year-old there, just giving it a bit of whooshka turbo as he came out of the corner. The Allworth Holmes car. That's what they do. Give it a bit of whooshka. Amazing what performance you can drag out of a 2-litre or a 1600. Once you add a big dryer off the side, hair dryer or blower or turbo, whatever you want to call it. Not normally aspirated, pressurised. And this guy, very impressive block advance on the number 87 Liquid Molly entry.
He has had a standout weekend, particularly considering he hasn't had any previous circuit racing experience per se. He's done a lot of motorcarnas and events where the emphasis is very much on car control, so when you consider his experience in those sorts of events, that sort of driving technique would definitely help out with the wet weather side of things. So perhaps not too much of a surprise that he was so impressive in the wet, but even so, still made a very, very good debut. And more issues here for the Joe Crinolos, number 52 Track Day Club HSV GTS, which we saw was running quite slowly earlier on, just falling back in behind a couple of cars.
Brock Mitchell fighting back there, the number 7 just at the front of that shot there as we go with Reece McIntosh again in this little GTI, the German Performance Garage APR assisted outfit. Here we go now. Here's the Crinolos car with the Virag entry.
These are actually sister cars that are being run out of neighbouring garages this weekend, and it's Corinne Virag behind the wheel of the number 42 car, and Joe Crinolos just getting eased over onto the wet grass there and immediately jumping on the brakes to make sure that he didn't rotate that car. We've already had one HSV crashed. That was earlier on this morning when we saw Barry Sternbeck in the wall at turn 3.
Quite a hit too.
Yeah, you'll notice, Darren, that car's not back out there this afternoon. Actually, not too much damage. It's mostly cosmetic, but they decided that rather than trying to repair it here at the circuit, that they will focus their energies into fixing it properly away from the track and making sure that it's right to go for the Bathurst 6 Hour next month.
Tim Leahy looking down the inside of Pearson there, and the Warlord into Commodore and gets through quite nicely as well. Motor 1 emblazoned across the front of the number 23 Bruce Linton BMW Service Lay Auto Group BMW M3. MRF tyres sticker proudly displayed across the front window of all these cars. It's been a fairly universal, strong acceptance of the new control tyre over the 12 months, and certainly the New South Wales production touring category have been watching that very closely, and we're pretty keen to unite the tyre brands, if you like, so that there can certainly be a lot of cross-entering between these cars now. It's very hard to develop a car on one brand of tyre and then swing between categories, because they all have their own characteristics. The MRF team have been right on the front foot, helping everyone set their cars up and get them running fast, and they certainly have been appreciated right across the National Australian Production Car Series. Also the Pulsar Series guys this weekend, they've jumped onto the MRF as their control tyre, and they've been very happy with the trackside support as well. So a bit of momentum there for the Indian tyre company, the MRF Tyres, the Mentor Tyres company here in Australia. Vivek heads the way there, Vivek Ponsami. We've heard from him a couple of times on the telecast here this weekend, but certainly the naming rights sponsor for the National Series, and doing a really good job supplying the control tyre as well.
24 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in this race. Let's run you through the class positions at the moment. The leader in Class A1, Barry Clinton, Tim Leahy. Tim Leahy at the wheel of the number 23 BMW. It is your outright race leader. Leader in Class A2 will be Matthew Holt. He is second outright, and also the highest placed of the New South Wales competitors. Leader in Class B1 at the moment will be Reece McIntosh, who sits in 10th position outright. Leader in Class B2, a couple of positions further up in 8th spot outright, Daniel DeQuino continuing to lead the way in Class B2. Leader in Class C, Ian Salteri in the VW Golf that sits in position 3 outright. Leader in Class D at the moment is Zach Shalpo, and he's currently scored in at position 15 overall. Interesting to see as well that David Cruiser, talked about him before, and here he is on screen at the moment, currently running in 6th position outright. That's a really strong performance in one of the oldest cars in the field, the BMW E36. Again, just reinforcing what I said earlier about David's driving talent. Raced against go-karts against some very high-profile names, including James Courtney and Marcus Ambrose. Won the national go-kart title back in the mid-1990s, did David Cruiser. A bit of a shame perhaps that he didn't get the opportunities to pursue a professional career in motorsport, but now has found a happy home in the production touring car category. Here's a good battle between some German manufacturers. So we've got the BMW 1M of Alex and Dieter Holzel up against the Mercedes A45 AMG, which now has Michael Sheargold at the wheel, and also the other BMW in there of Urs Muller. So the Mercedes is in a BMW sandwich at the moment.
Yeah, and I tell you what, the number 80, the Holz car, is being driven with absolute abandon. He's being cranked sideways. He's leaving black marks on the road, all sorts of things. It's like a Saturday night cruise around Parramatta for those guys out there at the moment. Here's the M4, and currently being driven by Ian Sharon, and they're just where they are down in the field. Sorry, Grant Sharon, they're in 10th position on the road at the moment, and they're second in A1, third in A, fourth in A1. It's Tim Leahy in the Berwick Linton entered car. Then it is Shane Smollen in the team car to Berwick Linton there as well. Dwayne West and the M4 car number 1 just down in 10th place. They've had a fistful of issues with the M4 throughout this weekend. Let's hope they can get on top of it, because when they do, both drivers have reported back and said that it is an absolute weapon and it will go with anyone.
Provided they can get on top of those issues, we know that they're going to be a contender at the Bathurst 6 Hour. In fact, this weekend is a bit of almost a form guide, isn't it, for what we might expect to see at the Bathurst 6 Hour? Well, I think there's a couple of things that we can say. We know that Berwick Linton and Tim Lay, who are the reigning Bathurst 6 Hour champions, they will be very strong once again. But if we get some wet weather up at Bathurst in April, it could change the form guide completely. And at Bathurst, at any time of the year, you just never know what the weather might do. Here is the
car number 40. That's the car that's been so good in the wet.
And that's a move to second position outright in the dry. Ian Saltera getting the better of Matthew Holt, moving that VW Golf up to second position. As we say, Matt Holt getting very sideways coming out of turn 3. Had to wind on a fistful of opposite lock to keep that Commodore on the straight and narrow.
Someone said someone was leaving black number 11s around the track, and Matt Holt said, I'm not going to be outdone on that. I'm going to unleash the beast. I'm going to give you number 11s all the way around. He does it again.
I reckon he might have a bit of an issue with that car because it's not looking balanced at all. I wonder if it could be a deflated tyre or something. Keep an eye on Matt Holt, but definitely his progress has slowed quite dramatically. And just having a look at the front left-hand corner of that car, I reckon that all may not be quite well with that car. Here it comes into shot at the moment around Corporate Hill. Could be that there's some sort of steering or suspension drama, or perhaps a deflated tyre, like I said, that he's dealing with.
Let's keep a look on his sectors. Matt Holt is now P3 on the road, and absolutely no one right down until you get to Holt's is setting fast sectors at this point of the race. 18 laps in. Time remaining just under 20 minutes. Here's a battle again. It's a bit of a David and Goliath battle also. Car number 9, which is 5th on the road. David Cruiser in the 89 is 6th on the road. And this is an A1 car versus a C1 car and an older car. It's a 96 built car there, that BMW, the M3 there.
This is a great effort from David Cruiser to be up challenging that big HSV for position. Down the inside he goes into turn 8, the hairpin. Great stuff there. So that moves David Cruiser up to 5th position outright. He will probably struggle to hold on to that spot when they get to the next section of the circuit, because the big HSV should just blast straight back past that BMW in a straight line. But nevertheless, awesome to see David Cruiser taking the fight up to some much newer, faster and more powerful machinery.
It's like a white pointer shark circling in the background, isn't it? It's about twice as wide, twice as long, twice as heavy as that little BMW. Here he comes, Dwayne West. Let's have a listen to this V8 come thumping down the straight.
Yep, just as we expected, blows back past David Cruiser down the straight. So
I know exactly how David Cruiser feels. You've got the wood on him, you've got the brakes, you've got the handling, and the thing just blows by you in a straight line. It's a hard and bitter pill. Down the inside, under brakes again. Dwayne West goes, yep, all right, get this little mosquito out of here.
He's not going to take no for an answer, David Cruiser. Sends it straight back down the inside at turn 2.
You know when you go to bed at night when you're camping and you hear that around in your ear and it's a mozzie? That's what's going on. Dwayne West is going, no, you're getting the better of me.
So Cruiser now needs to press on and maximise the advantage of that BMW around the tight and twisted section of the circuit, because that's where the BMW will have the advantage over the HSV. But again, really, really good to see David Cruiser elevating that car into a position far and above where you would normally expect it to be. Here's a replay of some action that's happened up around Corporate Hill, or at turn number 8, the hairpin.
Going to watch the two cars we've just been watching come out. There they are. There's David Cruiser. In fact, he's got himself a good couple of car lengths further up the road now from Dwayne West. And he'll probably make that move stick, because he's got a long straight to exercise his authority in car number 9. But certainly if the BMW's got more car lengths around the back of the track on you, it's going to be a real hard push. Here's our race leader. It's Tim Lay at the wheel. We've been informed from pit lane, although the timing screens are saying Berwick Linton, it's Tim Lay at the wheel of the number 23. And he is doing a tremendous job. I've said it before and I'll say it again about Tim. Very, very reliable, strong, fast. A guy that can drive to a lap time, lap after lap after lap. He's just cracking a little bit sideways there. In fact, with 16 minutes left to go, he's like, well, we've only got 16 minutes left on this set of tyres. Let's have some fun with it. I've heard Matty Holt is. Let's have some fun with the 23 BMW as well.
And speaking of Matthew Holt, I've just been keeping an eye on his sector times, because we saw that he was struggling a bit his sector times are not flash. He's actually more than a second slower than Ian Salteri just through the first sector at the moment.
We're just watching Ian Salteri now. So he's gone through in the number 19 Sharon Reynolds car, and in the back of shot, there's no Matthew Holt in that big HSV, the brightly coloured Kavanagh Electrics car. So this car here, the Harding Performance Volkswagen Golf, has been an amazing competitor this weekend. They have developed this car over the off-season. They won the team's award last year, so they've got things like fuel and tyres, and even some of the food for the team looked after as a result of that. A great prize. So what they've done is they've put some of that, let's call it contingency money that they would have had, albeit not much of it left around, put it back into developing this car, and they've gone about it in a very, very good manner, and their results are coming to them this weekend. Let's hope that Ian Salteri and Cam Usil can continue on with the 2020 MRF Tyres Australian Production Car Series in a strong fashion that they've started it out.
So just coming back to the point on Matt Holt as well. So he lost about 2.5 seconds to Salteri on the previous lap. The good news for him, though, is that he does have 26.7 seconds up his sleeve to the next car behind, which will be Shane Smolin in the second of the BMW M3s, as the siren sounds to indicate that the compulsory pit stop window has closed. Everybody has done their compulsory pit stops, so we've ticked all the boxes as far as that side of things is concerned. And we do now have a completely cleansed race order.
Matty Holt looks to be turning the wick back up again on the number 65. He's got the car back up to pace. He's driving it, putting it where he wants on the track. The problem is for Matt is that he's let that Volkswagen get away to the tune of almost 9 seconds. And we get that long shot through the gum trees there with the HSV lolloping its way through and around Corporate Hill. Here's the Pearson car now with Eden Thorborough in the background as well. So they're 17 and 18 on the road. A B2 car of Pearson and a Class D car of Eden Thorborough. Big future ahead of the driver in the Toyota 86. And in fact, this number 44, Pearson, doing a really good job as well. Warlord, the technical gear company, emblazoned up the side. They've done a bit of Kumo Tyre V8 touring car sponsorship with Steve Briffa, going back a couple of seasons ago, now finding themselves a happy home in the MRF Tyres Australian Production Car or New South Wales Production Car Championship. Here's the class leaders. A1 being led by Tim Lay, Matty Holt leading A2. So maybe that's what Matt Holt's got the eye on, the class result there. It's Reece McIntosh in B1. That's a strong result there. D'Aquino in B2. Aussie Muscle is going to be John Carter. C1 is Ian Salteri. And Class D is the Lascalpo 212 entry, which is currently 14th on the road.
In terms of the point situation, I'm glad that you touched on it, because the New South Wales competitors score points independently of the National Series competitors. So it doesn't actually matter if there's national competitors in the mixture. The New South Wales drivers will all be scored based on their positions relative to all of the other New South Wales competitors. So Matt Holt on target for the Class A2 win at the moment in the New South Wales Championship. Also, Stephen Thompson looking good for the Class A1 win. Daniel D'Aquino, Alex Holtzel, David Kruger, all potentially on target for class victories in the New South Wales side of things as well.
So it really is a strong scene here in the Australian production car racing scene at the moment, with both the New South Wales and the National Championship being united on the MRF tyre. It has been an obstacle for the uniting of these titles, with various other manufacturers being across state and national. There's absolutely no reason now why we can't have some massive fields on the national scene. The tyre war is over, and it becomes an internal battle. Who can adapt their car best to the MRF tyre and continue on their way? So we've got a timing screen full, over 30 cars. It'd be great to see that every time we go racing. We know we're going to see 62 or 63 of them at Mount Panorama. You open the gates at Mount Panorama. In fact, you open a curtain at Mount Panorama and people are there watching it. So that's what happens up there. We look forward to seeing a lot of these cars going racing nationally. It's certainly a lot easier to do it when there's such a great tyre deal in place with the crew at MRF, and Mentor Tyres doing all the support in the background, orchestrating that situation as well.
I think the other thing as well is just the variety of events that you can race these production cars in. So we know that there's the Australian Production Car Series, very strong state level series here in New South Wales, up in Queensland as well. We've seen some of these cars participating in other endurance racing events. There's the Australian 1000 series this year that you might have heard about, Darren, that encompasses the Wakefield and the Winton 300s, and also the Sydney Motorsport Park 300, which will take place here in May as well. So lots of different options for competitors of these cars to get out and enjoy their machinery, and because they are production-based vehicles, easy to get parts for, easy to work on, and also relatively easy to get your head around how to drive one of these cars as well.
It's been a strong part of the Australian Motorsport program, right from improved production in the late 60s. There have always been production cars, whether they've been in the foreground or the background or the midground, the attention of the motorsport media and the public at large as well. So those involved in motorsport know that production car racing is always fantastic, and with these middle distance enduros, and even on some of the longer distance, the 4 and 6 hours and 3 hour races that can throw themselves up here and there. The Fight in the Night at QR is one of those marquee events which we love going to in August every year as part of the Shannon's Motorsport Australia Championships, and that's a strong race as part of the MRF Tyres National Championship is concerned. Yes, Lockie, plenty of opportunities to run these cars at, and have a look at this. Ian Saltieri up the inside of a BMW, up the inside of a V8 Commodore.
Oh, Zach Lascialpo. Zach Lascialpo threading the needle, the Toyota 86. And this is for position as well, trying to make a move through on Urs Muller. And he'll go down the inside of Muller, and then he'll try and go round the outside of John Carter in the Commodore. Urs Muller back down the inside of Zach Lascialpo. And those two cars will still run door to door on the run up through turn number 6. Lascialpo trying to hang tough around the outside as they head into the next left-hander at Corporate Hill. Can he hold the corner speed on the outside in the Toyota 86? Because if he can, he'll be well positioned on the inside for the hairpin, but not quite able to do so. Urs Muller covers down the inside.
Interestingly enough, Ian Saltieri and John Carter, two national championship competitors. These two cars behind the 77 and the 212, two New South Wales championship competitors. So we've got a real mix of, I guess, motivation to get through here at the moment. John Carter hasn't been able to go with Ian Saltieri. In fact, no one's been able to go with either Cem Usul or Ian Saltieri in the Harding Automotive VW all weekend, as the Urs Muller car gets about 3 tank slaps there, gets the drive down. We'll see if the 212 has got the drive, getting nice drive onto the straight. And there goes John Carter through on Fern in that Polo. That's been driven very, very well as well this weekend, the number 12. And impressed by what they've been able to do and how they've been able to put that car, particularly in the wet, has driven very, very well. Obviously giving away a lot of performance in the dry. The number 77 is being driven with a lot of aggression and certainly a lot of controlled slides and drifting of that car. With only 7.5 minutes left in this weekend's racing, well, they've all certainly got the opportunity to go through to the MRF sprint race at the end of this day's racing, at the end of this weekend, the Butcher's Picnic.
I'm very much looking forward to that. We don't normally say that, do we, at an event like this? So really, really looking forward to seeing how that all plays out.
As my grandma would have said, they'll throw gay abandon to the breeze. Probably not politically correct these days, but that's what Grandma would have said.
So just watching a replay on screen, that was actually a change of position with Stephen Thompson in the Mitsubishi Evo 10 getting up the inside of Dwayne West in the HSV GTS. So that was for positions 6 and 7. Thompson in the Evo on through into P6 as this battle continues between Urs Muller and Zach Lascialpo. A few people are bit tired down there in the pits. It has been a rather long weekend, hasn't it?
Yeah, certainly. You don't want to nod off in the pits. Someone will do something to you. It normally involves brake cleaner or something like that. You've got to keep your wits about you. It's like the Trofeo Motorsport crew at the 12 hours, some 42 hours straight that crew did without sleep, and they were catching Zeds as they could here and there in between pit stops. But certainly how they did it. That's right. Don't wake them up. Wake up in pit lane. We've still got 2 races to go, and all these cars are going to be back out for the Butcher's Picnic at the end of the New South Wales sports car race and the GT Trophy race coming your way for an hour in just a few moments' time. Wake up! Plenty to go.
So 6 minutes remaining in this race, and Osborne continuing to put the pressure on John Carter in the VF Commodore. Out in front, Tim Alley has extended his overall race lead over Ian Solterix to 22.2 seconds.
I was only saying Barry Steinbeck and Tony Virag sponsor the Wake Up Hostel outfit. That's what I was saying. I was wishing them out there to get the car on track. Just giving their sponsor a bit of airtime.
So Zach LaChalpo, the Toyota 86, another driver who's also competing in the Toyota 86 Racing Series, and his dad Anthony LaChalpo, a former competitor within the New South Wales Production Touring Car Series as well. Here is Tim Alley, our race leader, and we talked about just how solid a driver he is. Very versatile driver as well, Darren, when you think about the types of different race cars that Tim Alley has driven over the years, everything from production cars and open wheelers of various shapes and sizes. Was quite an accomplished endurance driver in the supercars for a number of years. I think he drove with Paul Wheel Racing for a few years, certainly teamed up with the Brad Jones Racing outfit on a couple of occasions. We saw him do quite well in Porsche Carrera Cup as well, and has now found a very happy home in production car racing.
He's a strong racer in the later days of Formula Holden as well. You touched on the open wheelers. They were absolute beasts of things, and Tim was just a young bloke back then. I like to remind him about that, and he says, yeah, I'm still doing it. I've still got to drive, and I don't think he's about to lose it in a very long time, because Beric Linton, he has a good opinion of him. He's a safe set of hands, and we see why. Down the inside of the number 80 he goes, puts another lap on that car, the Holtz car. That's Alex Holtz at the wheel now. Of course, doing a strong job out in front now. Tim Lay not making any mistakes. I don't think, I can't actually put my hand on any mistake that he may have ever made. He's certainly been very patient with some of the issues that this car has thrown up this weekend. It went into traction control mode and wasn't coming out of it during the qualifying session yesterday, so they had issues with that. He kept his cool. He did the lap he needed to do. Qualified well. Not as well as what he would have liked, but certainly concentrated on driving the machine that was under him. Very Jim Richards-esque. Very, well, this is what we've got. Let's make it work.
He's the father and daughter team of Tony and Corinne Virag. Corinne Virag started the race. Tony Virag has jumped aboard that car for the closing stints, and probably a good timely opportunity to remind everybody that it is International Women's Day, so great to have Corinne Virag on the grid. There is actually a nice story that's gone up on the Motorsport Australia website and Facebook page, a video feature on Corinne and her racing career so far. Started off doing track days and has now progressed into the circuit racing competition.
Well, certainly here at Sydney Motorsport Park, just before this race, there was an announcement over for all the women involved in pit paddock area, whether it be drivers, crewing, friends and family, and in the media, etc., to come to pit lane and have a photo taken with all the females involved here this weekend. And it was actually good. Sue Hughes was tucking into her lunch, and I said, hey Sue, you're running late, you've got a photo shoot to go to. And she tucked the burger away and came running up the pit lane to get that shot. 2.5 minutes left to go, so keep an eye out. I'd say that'd be on the Sydney Motorsport Park or even the ARDC website there, because it was organised by the local crew here at the track to get that shot, and can't wait to see that. Very important, inclusive photo in Australian motorsport today. Here's the Virag crew, the number 42, just off in the background. A car we haven't seen a whole lot of is the 189 here this weekend. Just operating pretty well there, and we see a state runner, the Sullivan car. It's a State B2 class car.
Oh, and some more problems, unfortunately, for the number 6 GWR Australia West Hotels and Apartments car of Brett Howard and Garth Walden, which has actually stopped altogether heading down the hill, so Walden will have to try and coast back down into the pit lane unfortunately, it is downhill pretty much as soon as you exit turn 11 all the way down to pit entry. So if you can get it into neutral, no, he's actually missed the pit entry altogether. He might actually get that car fired up and be able to continue on.
He's had the reboot and off he goes. Probably not a bad idea because he's only a minute and 14 left to go to get to the line and be classified as a finisher. So he gets across the line. You'd have to expect he's not going to get another lap around, just bringing it around, whether he limps it to the line or not. I reckon this is the drive of the weekend. Lockie, I'll put it out there now. This car in P2 in this race, it's a Class C1 car. We've often seen Class C cars, and we touched on it yesterday with Jake Camilleri in his range of Mazdas he's raced over the years, and this is yet another Class C mechanical marvel, really. The Harding Automotive Volkswagen Golf entered outfit. They've done a tremendous job in the wet, but they've backed it up. In that race earlier on today, in the dry, they weren't being caught by the BMW M3s and M4s. They were running strong, so they've really turned the wick up on that car. And not only have they turned the wick up on that car, they're driving well.
I agree with you. It's been a very impressive performance. Oh, Matt Holt off the road. The car that was running in third position has fired it off at high speed at turn 1.
Going to collect a bit of A45 rear diffuser on his way through there. Use it as a bit of grip on the track. Avoids the Sydney Motorsport Park 200-300 metre mark to turn 1.
He's got a flat front right-hand tyre. That's the loaded tyre here at the Sydney Motorsport Park circuit, the high-speed
bring it
corners.
Around, Matt. Keep going. Tear the guard off. You're going to bring points home, mate.
So he has lost what was third position outright. The leading car in terms of the New South Wales production touring runners, would you believe, is now David Cruiser. That BMW
Checkered
E36.
flag. There it is for Tim Lay. Takes the victory here this afternoon. A very intelligent drive there by Tim in the number 23. A great result for the team. They've done what they did here last year. They've opened their account in the MRF Tyres Australian National Production Car Championship or Series. Very, very well indeed. There's a lot of happy people getting to the line. Arms out the window. Thank you very much. These guys we wrap. That's P2 in this race and a massive points haul in Class C1 for Ian Saltieri and Jem Usel. They've done a tremendous job to open up their account in the MRF Tyres Australian Production Car Series. The checker flag continues to wave. Here comes the number 56 with the number 19, and they are not battling it out for position in the race. In fact, Shane Smollen will be coming to third in the race in that car right there. We're picking it up now. The Bruce Linton BM service outfit, that M3. It's had its troubles along the way this weekend too, but ultimately getting home in third place in this race. Looks to go through on the number 19 Sharon Rentals car. It gets to the line ultimately. The number 19 gets through on the road in position number 16, and it is the first in B1.
So here comes Matt Holt, so he's going to limp this HSV home. The front right-hand tyre has completely parted company with the rim, but with the way that the point system is structured, you need to do everything that you possibly can to get classified as a finisher. So Matt Holt will crawl down to the line, and he will manage to get that HSV classified as a race finisher.